Look, I'm just saying, if you would actually just give it a chance.
Give it a mate, my eyes were literally propped open.
If you'd engage with the material instead of whining about it the moment you saw the publication date.
Propped open with matchsticks.
You'd see it is absolutely brilliant. I expected this to be a complete chore. I really did. But once I dug into it, it's properly genius. I don't use that word lightly.
Engage with it. Are you joking? Trying to get through this bloody chore of a book was mental. Look at you, sitting there telling our mate here that they need to endure this.
They want to hear about it.
Look at them across the table. They've just sat down with a pint, hoping for a nice, relaxing chat, and you're ambushing them with a 100-year-old French-Belgian silent film. It is mental.
It's not mental.
You want them to care about a 1920s silent movie when there are perfectly good actual modern films playing down the road with, sound, basic pacing.
Modern films, right? Because what we really need is another soulless, focus group-tested superhero reboot.
At least things happen in them.
Hear me out, both of you. This book we've been going through.
Cinema, the magic vehicle. A comprehensive guide. Journey 1, 1913 to 1950.
Rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yes, it's a mouthful, I know. But it is the ultimate guide if you are sick to death of watching the same recycled garbage. It actually transports you.
Oh, here we go.
It takes you through the political and cultural history of cinema. It shows you the absolute foundations of everything we watch today.
Transports you. That is literally from the back of the bloody book.
It's an accurate description.
Listen to this. I've got it right here on the table next to my glass. Let me just, right here. Let yourself be swept away on an extraordinary journey. Wait, the magic of cinema will captivate you for hours on end. Hours on end. That's a threat.
It is not a threat.
It reads like a travel brochure for a place nobody actually wants to visit.
That is entirely unfair, and you know it. You're being deliberately obtuse.
Look, let's bring it back to the actual subject for today, because I am not letting you derail this before we've even started. I'm not derailing. I'm warning our friend here.
We are focusing on one specific film from this book for our silent mate here. An 1,800-meter Belgian-French silent film from the early 1920s called Old Bill of Paris.
Or, to use a name that makes even less sense,
or if we're using the original French title, Crainquebille. Directed by Jacques Feyder, produced by Films A. Legrand. And I am staking my claim right now, having finally watched it. This film is a proper masterpiece.
You can't be serious.
It is a revolutionary character study that genuinely foreshadowed Italian Neorealism.
Are you joking? A masterpiece, a precursor to Neorealism.
Yes.
It completely ignores pacing. It entirely neglects editing. The book even admits it.
It doesn't neglect it.
It's an absolute shambles of a narrative that plods along like an arthritic donkey. It is so dodgy in places, I honestly thought the projectionist had fallen asleep halfway through the reel.
Wait. You cannot judge a 1922 film by the attention span of someone used to scrolling through 15-second videos.
I have a perfectly fine attention span.
Put yourself in the mindset of the time. And if you've ever, and I'm talking to you here, our mate at the table, if you have ever felt absolutely crushed by a bureaucracy.
Oh, a bureaucracy. Very cinematic.
Or if you've ever been judged by a system that simply refuses to listen to you, this is exactly what this argument is about.
It's about a bloke with a cart.
This is about whether a 100-year-old movie actually captures that suffocating feeling perfectly, or if, as my deeply cynical friend here believes, it's just pretentious, artsy nonsense.
It is artsy nonsense, and I'll prove it to you. Let's lay out the facts.
Please do.
Let's look at the absolute thrill ride that is the plot of Old Bill of Paris, which is based on the short story L'Affaire Crainquebille by Anatole France, the hero of our grand cinematic epic, Jérôme Crainquebille.
Played beautifully by Maurice de Ferrodi.
Sure, Ferrodi. And who is he? A master spy. A rogue detective with nothing to lose. No. He's an elderly vegetable seller. A bloke with a cart of cabbages.
Which is exactly why it's brilliant. It's grounded. It's real. Crainquebille is this stubborn, inarticulate old man who just wants to go about his day.
Just standing there.
So, here's the catalyst of the whole film. He's waiting for a customer. Madame Bayard, played by Jean Cheryl. She's gone inside to fetch her money to pay for her leeks or onions or whatever.
Riveting stuff.
She's taking her time. And while he's waiting, policeman number 64, played by Felix Houdart, wanders over and tells Crainquebille to move his cart because it's supposedly obstructing traffic.
Right, a minor traffic dispute.
But the old man is waiting for his money. He's too slow to move.
Hold on a second. Right there, that transaction, that delay. Do you know how long that takes in this film?
It takes the time it needs to take.
The source text literally says Feyder intentionally dispenses with rapid movement and neglects editing.
Yes, to build the...
It says the story is told with leisurely analytical precision. Let me translate that from pretentious film critic speak into normal English for you. It's rather dull.
It is not dull.
It's boring. You're watching an old man not moving a cart of vegetables with leisurely precision.
That's rubbish, mate. Complete and utter rubbish. You have to understand the context.
The context is I was bored to tears.
It was the early 1920s. Think about what was happening in cinema at the time. Everyone else was desperately trying to invent flashy cinematic expressions.
Because they wanted to keep the audience awake.
Let me finish. You had the Germans doing expressionism, right? Painting bizarre, jagged shadows on walls and going mad with distorted set design to show inner turmoil.
Yeah, that actually sounds good.
And you had the French avant-garde trying to invent rapid-fire montage, cutting scenes together at breakneck speed to create visual rhythm. But Feyder?
He decided to do none of that.
Feyder had the guts to say, no, I'm going to stay faithful to the literary original. He doesn't want to distract you with flashy camera tricks during the setup.
Just distract me with vegetables instead.
He wants you to sit in the uncomfortable reality of this old man's predicament. That takes guts. It's absolutely brilliant character work. He's forcing you to experience the mundanity of Crainquebille's life, so the disruption feels real.
Brilliant character work. It's a man standing next to a cart for ages.
Because that is his life.
And then, the grand climax of this thrilling sequence, the policeman gets annoyed that the old man isn't moving fast enough, so he accuses Crainquebille of yelling, "Kill the cops" at him.
Right. Mort au vache in the original French vernacular.
He just makes it up, or misunderstands the old man grumbling and reports the incident.
Right. And just to pause here for a second, before anyone listening to us gets the wrong idea, neither of us is sitting here endorsing anti-police slogans or taking a modern political stance on law enforcement today.
Oh, definitely not.
We are strictly analyzing the film's narrative, okay? This is Feyder's gentle anti-bourgeois satire at play.
Right, we're not taking sides.
It's an exploration of class and authority in 1920s Paris, straight from Anatole France's source material. We're just looking at the mechanics of the story and how the state interacts with the working poor in this specific fiction.
Exactly. I don't care about the politics of it. I care about the fact that it takes half a lifetime to get to the accusation.
But fine. The copper accuses him.
Yeah. The old man is too stubborn and, frankly, too inarticulate to properly defend himself, and he gets dragged off to court.
But imagine that. Just picture it. I want you sitting right there to imagine being completely misunderstood in a high-stakes situation simply because you couldn't find the right words fast enough.
I'm rarely short of words, mate.
What Crainquebille is, you're tired, you're old, you're just trying to earn a few coins for a cabbage, and suddenly the full weight of the state is coming down on you because a policeman had a bad day.
That's rough, sure.
And you physically couldn't string a sentence together to explain yourself. It is terrifying. It's a universal nightmare. It's the ultimate bureaucratic trap.
It's a nightmare, all right, but mostly for the audience trying to stay awake through the setup.
You are insufferable.
So he goes to trial. The great courtroom scene. We have Judge Barish, played by Armand Numez, and lawyer Lemerle, played by Renee Worms.
Fantastic performances, both of them.
And what's the devastating sentence for this hardened criminal mastermind? 15 days in prison and a 50 francs fine.
Which is absolutely devastating for a bloke like Crainquebille.
That's 15 days.
That's his livelihood gone. A 50 francs fine in the 1920s for a street vendor. That's bankruptcy. It ruins him.
I know, but...
Here's where the film elevates from a simple social drama into sheer visual genius. The trial scene. The way Feyder shoots this courtroom is incredible.
Here we go. Visual genius.
He completely shifts into a subjective narrative to show Crainquebille's instinctive, visceral fear of authority.
You mean the part where the film suddenly forgets it's a grounded character study and turns into a bizarre cartoon?
It is not a cartoon.
It looks mental.
Let me explain this properly. Instead of just showing the room exactly as a static camera would capture it, like a photograph Feyder, shows us what the room feels like inside the panicked mind of this old man.
Feelings, right.
It's subjective to his emotional state. Let me paint the picture for you. The policeman, who is already this hostile, authoritative figure.
Number 64.
Right. He is suddenly shot from way below, making him tower over the courtroom like Gulliver standing over the tiny Lilliputians. He's depicted as a giant, an unstoppable titan of the state.
He looks ridiculous.
He looks terrifying. He literally looms over everything. And then contrast that with Dr. Mathieu, played by Charles Musnet.
Ah, yes, the one and only defense witness.
Exactly. The only person actually speaking up for Crainquebille. And how does Feyder show him?
Let me guess, he turns into a badger.
He bathes him in an unfriendly, harsh flood of light and physically shrinks him down to the size of an insect on the screen.
Because that's normal.
Because that's how Crainquebille perceives his chances. The defense is tiny, insignificant, easily crushed by the giant policeman.
It's just so literal.
And the jury in the gallery. The courtroom goes completely out of focus. And all Crainquebille sees is a terrifying sea of inquisitive eyeballs staring at him, judging him.
Floating eyeballs.
It is a brilliant representation of sheer anxiety.
You can't be serious. You cannot sit there with a straight face and call that brilliant. A giant policeman, an insect doctor, floating eyeballs.
It's highly effective.
Mate, that sounds dodgy in places. Actually, it sounds completely comical.
It is not comical.
You were praising Feyder 5 minutes ago for his leisurely, analytical precision and staying grounded in the reality of a cabbage cart, and now you're applauding him for turning the courtroom into a bloody funhouse mirror.
Wait, hold on. I brought something to illustrate this. Look at this.
What's that?
It's a picture from my notes. I laid it on the table. It's a magnifying glass. Standard, everyday magnifying glass. This is exactly what Feyder is doing.
Showing us a magnifying glass.
Think about how a magnifying glass works. When you hold it over something like a pub coaster, it doesn't just show you the object, it distorts it.
Right.
It hyper-focuses on one tiny detail, amplifying it to massive proportions while completely blurring and minimizing everything else around it.
I know how a magnifying glass works.
The courtroom in this film acts as a giant, distorted magnifying glass of the state.
A magnifying glass.
Right. Hear me out. It hyper-focuses on Crainquebille's minor infraction. It amplifies the state's power, hence the giant policeman.
Okay.
It completely minimizes the truth, the shrinking doctor, and it blurs out any context down the out-of-focus sea of eyeballs. It's a perfect visual metaphor for how the justice system operates when it targets the poor.
That's very poetic, mate. Really, it is. A lovely little metaphor.
Thank you.
But it doesn't change the fact that as a viewing experience, it is a tonal disaster. You can't have it both ways.
What do you mean?
Because outside of this funhouse courtroom, the film is actively trying to be a gritty documentary.
Why?
The source text specifically highlights the portrayal of Les Halles, the old, bustling, early morning Parisian vegetable market. It says it adds a touch of personal documentary.
And it does. The market scenes are stunning.
So which is it? Is it a grounded, realistic look at the working class of Paris, or is it a wildly exaggerated, subjective, avant-garde experiment?
It's both.
Blending those two things doesn't make it a masterpiece. It makes it a tonal mess.
That's not.
It's like watching a gritty documentary about the London Underground, and suddenly a giant cartoon badger drives the train.
That is a ridiculous comparison, and you know it. It works perfectly because the Les Halles scenes represent Crainquebille's comfort zone.
His comfort zone.
That's his world. It's real, it's tangible, it's documentary-like because he intimately understands it. He knows the smell of the cabbages, he knows the banter of the market.
Sure, he knows onions.
The courtroom, on the other hand, is completely alien to him. The sudden shift into subjective, mental, avant-garde visuals perfectly captures the shock of a working-class man being dragged into a bourgeois system he cannot comprehend.
So it's confusing on purpose.
The clash in tone is the point. It shows the alienation of the working class.
The clash in tone give me a headache. And frankly, the so-called tragedy that follows just dragged it out even more.
It doesn't drag out, it unfolds naturally.
So he does his 15 days in the clink, he pays his 50 francs, essentially ruining him, and he comes out to find his life in absolute ruin.
It's devastating. This is where the psychological toll of that magnifying glass really shows its consequences on a small life.
Oh, we're still on the magnifying glass.
He loses his reputation entirely. His regular customers turn away from him. He loses the respect of his neighbors. The community completely ostracizes him because he's now an ex-con.
Over a traffic dispute.
It's the stigma of the system. In 1920s Paris, a criminal record for a street vendor meant you were untouchable. So what does he do? He turns to drink.
Standard.
He loses his cart. He ends up as a vagrant, a tramp on the streets, A complete and utter fall from grace over a simple misunderstanding about moving a cart.
Yeah, and then we get to the only part of the film I actually thought was half decent.
Oh, really? You like something?
The dark comedy of the second arrest. Because Crainquebille is so miserable, so cold, so hungry living on the streets, he realizes that prison wasn't actually that bad.
That's heartbreaking.
At least he had a bed in there. At least he had a meal.
Yeah.
He actually wants to go back to prison just to get some peace.
Exactly. It's a brilliant inversion of expectations.
Okay, hear me out. I will concede the specific point that is actually spot on.
I knew you'd see sense eventually.
Crainquebille deliberately goes up to another copper police sergeant, number 121, played by Emile Roque, and this time he intentionally, clearly, shouts "kill the cops" right in his face.
Morto vache.
He's begging to be arrested. He wants the cuffs slapped on him. And what does the copper do?
He just laughs at him.
He just laughs. He thinks he's just a harmless, drunk old fool. The sheer soullessness and superficiality of the system right there.
Yes.
They only punish you when it's inconvenient for them, when you actually want the punishment, when you actively need the shelter of the state because you are starving. They couldn't care less.
Spot on. The system doesn't care about justice. And it certainly doesn't care about truth.
It just cares about paperwork.
It only cares about exerting authority when it feels its authority is challenged. The first policeman felt disrespected by a delay, so the machine crushed Crainquebille.
And the giant policeman arrives.
The second policeman felt amused by a drunk, so the machine ignores him. It highlights the absolute arbitrary nature of the French judiciary system. And Feyder executes this with such wry humor.
Wry humor.
Yes, wry humor.
It's miserable. The bloke is literally starving to death in the gutter and being laughed at by the police. And what's his next move?
Well,
He contemplates jumping into the river Seine to end it all. Real wry, mate. A
Yeah.
proper laugh riot.
dark comedy isn't meant to have you rolling on the floor in stitches. It's a cynical chuckle at the absolute absurdity of life.
I wasn't chuckling.
He's standing on the bridge, looking at the freezing water, contemplating the end. The state has completely discarded him. And then the rescue.
Oh, God, the rescue. Don't even get me started on the rescue.
He is saved by a paper boy.
A literal paper boy.
A little street urchin, nicknamed Lesaurus, which translates to the mouse, played by Jean Forrest.
The mouse. Perfect.
This is an orphan boy that Crainquebille had actually helped out previously, back when he had his cart and his livelihood and a few coins to spare.
Of course he did.
And now, at his lowest moment, the boy returns the favor. He gives the old man food, shelter, and basically the emotional strength to face life again.
It's nauseating.
Through the boy's unprompted friendship, Crainquebille finds redemption.
And you were just accusing modern films of being unoriginal? Are you joking?
It's beautiful.
It is the most convenient, sentimental rubbish I had ever seen. A classic orphan saves the day trope.
It is not a trope.
It is pure schmaltz. You spend the whole argument trying to convince me this is a gritty, realistic takedown of the bourgeois justice system, and how does it end?
With humanity.
With a plucky little street urchin sharing his crust of bread to warm the old man's heart. It's like something out of a bad Dickens adaptation.
Wait. You're missing the point entirely.
I'm really not.
You are completely misreading the tone. It is not schmaltz. The source text explicitly states that Feyder tells the story without pomposity or excessive realism.
Oh, the book says it, so it must be true.
It's about human connection surviving outside the bourgeois system. The state failed him. The legal system crushed him.
Who covered that?
The church, the respectable neighbors, the paying customers, the pillars of polite society, they all turned their backs on him.
Because he was a convicted criminal.
The only genuine humanity left in this world exists in the gutters, between a ruined old tramp and a homeless orphan. That's not sentimental. That is a radical statement about where true morality lies.
Oh, please. Radical statement.
Yes, radical.
It's a cop-out ending to wrap up a depressing story so the audience doesn't walk out of the cinema wanting to throw themselves in the Seine, too.
That is incredibly cynical.
You can dress it up in all the academic theory you want, but it's still a magic orphan fixing everything. And frankly, this whole confused mix of styles, the documentary market, the funhouse courtroom, the Dickensian ending, is exactly why Feyder ended up being the outcast of the avant-garde.
He wasn't an outcast because he was confused. He was an outcast because he refused to conform.
He refused to make sense.
Look at his legacy. The text notes that his use of subjective narrative, like the giant policeman and the insect doctor, links Old Bill of Paris with the impressionist avant-garde that completely dominated French cinema at the time.
Yeah, the ones who were actually good at it.
But Feyder never formally joined their little club.
Because his pacing was a shambles.
No, because he didn't want to be locked into their strict manifestos of how films should be made. The avant-garde movement was very cliquey. They had rules about visual purity.
At least they had rules.
Because of that independence, even though he was highly respected by his peers, he remained out of the limelight for a long time. He was a pioneer who walked his own path.
A pioneer? I reckon he was left out of the limelight because the avant-garde directors were probably falling asleep in his screenings.
Oh, very funny.
Hey, Jacques, are we going to see another 5 minutes of a vegetable cart not moving? Yes, but with leisurely precision. No wonder they didn't invite him to their parties.
You are insufferable. He was a brilliant filmmaker who was incredibly unlucky. His career was plagued by the worst kind of timing.
Timing? How so?
Look at what happened to him later. In 1928, he makes this film in Germany, Du sollst nicht verbrechen.
Bless you.
It's German for Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Catchy.
An intimate psychological drama based on Émile Zola's novel Thérèse Raquin.
A light comedy, then.
By all accounts from the book, it was shaping up to be a masterpiece of silent cinema, an incredibly delicate, nuanced piece of work.
Right.
But what happens? 1928, it gets released right as the first wave of sound films hits. The cacophony of the first wave of sound films, as the book beautifully puts it. Feyder's delicate silent film is completely overwhelmed and ruined by audiences flocking to hear scratchy, terrible-sounding dialogue in other films, just for the sheer novelty of it.
He wanted to hear people talk.
His art was destroyed by technology. People ignored his psychological depth just to hear some awful crackling audio in a lesser film.
Sounds like he backed the wrong horse.
Backed the wrong horse.
If you're making a silent film when everyone else is figuring out microphones, that's on you, mate. You have to adapt.
It was a transitional period. He couldn't have predicted how fast the industry would pivot.
Well, someone did.
Just like nobody could predict his ultimate legacy. And this is the grand claim, the absolute mic drop from the source text that proves my point.
Brace yourself, listener.
The book states definitively that nobody could predict that Feyder's style would foreshadow Italian Neorealism and the cinema of the 1950s.
What?
Neorealism, one of the most important cinematic movements of the 20th century.
Oh, that is bloody nonsense.
It's in the text.
That is the most ludicrous claim in this entire book. Foreshadowing neorealism. Are you joking? Do you even know what Italian neorealism is?
Yes, I do.
It is defined by absolute grit, non-professional actors shooting in the actual bombed-out streets of post-war Italy.
Yes.
A strict, unflinching adherence to reality.
Yes.
And you were telling me that a film with giant Gulliver policemen, a doctor who shrinks to the size of a bloody insect, and a funhouse courtroom of out-of-focus giant eyeballs is a precursor to Bicycle Thieves.
It's about the focus on the poor.
You can't be serious.
Yes, I can be serious, because neorealism is also about focusing on the working class. It's about the crushing weight of poverty and arbitrary systems.
But without the magic tricks.
It's about taking the camera out of this sterile studio and into the real world, like Feyder did with the Les Halles market scenes. He was shooting real vendors, real cabbage carts, capturing the actual breath of the city.
You can't cherry-pick the market scenes and completely ignore the giant eyeballs.
I'm not ignoring them.
You can't claim it's a gritty precursor to neorealism while simultaneously praising its wildly distorted subjective visuals. Pick a lane.
It's both.
Is it a grounded, uncompromising reality, or is it a surrealist nightmare? It cannot be both.
Why not? Why can't a film capture the external gritty reality of poverty and the internal subjective nightmare of oppression at the exact same time?
Because it's a mask.
That is the human experience. That's what makes it a masterpiece.
It makes it a shambles, a disjointed, poorly paced, tonally confused relic that only film snobs pretend to enjoy so they can sound smart in pubs.
And you are just a cynic who refuses to engage with anything that challenges your modern sensibilities.
I like good film.
You want everything spoon-fed to you with fast cuts and loud noises.
I want things that are actually good, not a man failing to move a cabbage cart for an hour and a half while I'm supposed to applaud his analytical precision.
Look, we are clearly not going to agree on this. We are just going around in circles.
We're going around a cabbage cart.
I maintain to my dying day that Old Bill of Paris is a cinematic treasure, a vital stepping stone in the history of film and a profoundly moving character study of a man crushed by the state.
And I maintain that it is an overhyped relic that belongs in the dustbin of history, right next to this bloody book you forced me to read.
Fine. We'll turn it over to you then. Yes, you sitting there, nursing your drink, listening to us argue. Think about it.
Think carefully.
If you were sitting down to watch a film from 1922, what would you actually want from it? Would you want the flashy, fast-paced, experimental editing of the avant-garde that distracts you from the story?
Yes, absolutely.
Or would you want this slow, deliberate, analytical precision that takes its time to show a man's life completely unraveling?
Who wants to watch a life unravel slowly?
Does blending gritty street realism with giant metaphorical policemen work for you as a way to show internal panic, or is it just a tonal mess?
I think we all know the answer to that. It's a mess.
Shut up for a second, let me finish. I want to leave you with a final lingering thought to mull over on your way home.
Make it quick.
Think about Crainquebille's moment of absolute tragic irony. The moment he hits rock bottom, shivering on the street, and he actually wants to be arrested just to find the peace and warmth of a prison cell.
Best part of the film.
But he's laughed at. If a justice system is so entirely arbitrary that prison actually becomes a sanctuary for the poor,
right,
and getting arrested is based entirely on a policeman's mood rather than the actual law, then who is really a prisoner to whom?
Bloody hell.
Are we prisoners of the state, or is the state just a prisoner to its own whims, completely detached from the reality of the people it governs?
Deep, mate. Real deep. Are you quite finished? Because I need a fresh pint if we're going to discuss the next chapter of this torture device you call a book. Let yourself be swept away, my foot.
We will see you next time. Bring a larger pint.
And maybe some toothpicks to keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
Absolute state of it.